A flight attendant removed a black boy from the plane, assuming he had no place in first class. What she didn't realize was that only minutes later, he would reveal himself to be the very owner of the airline. What follows will shock you and deliver a strong message about assumptions and judgment. Stay with the story until the end to see how it all unfolds. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel while dropping a comment about where you're watching from. Inside the busy terminal of JFK International Airport in New York, the air was alive with the echoes of flight announcements, rolling luggage and rushing footsteps. Among the sea of travelers was Caleb Turner, a 12-year-old black boy with bright, curious eyes and a quiet confidence. He wore a plain hoodie and jeans, carrying a backpack filled with snacks and books for the journey. For the very first time, Caleb was flying alone, headed to Washington, D.C. to meet his father, Jonathan Turner, the CEO of Airlines, one of the nation's largest carriers. Even though he was the son of an airline magnate, Caleb had been taught to live humbly and to treat everyone with respect. At the gate, Caleb handed over his first-class ticket. The agent smiled warmly and directed him down the jet bridge. He slipped into his seat, 2A, at the front of the cabin, tucking his backpack under the chair and pulling out an aviation book. Caleb had inherited his father's passion for planes and loved studying them. As he settled in, Melissa Porter, a 35-year-old flight attendant known for her strict, no-nonsense demeanor, walked briskly down the aisle. Her eyes landed on Caleb and her expression soured. "Excuse me," she said sharply. "Are you sure this is your seat?" Confused but polite, Caleb looked up. "Yes, ma'am, this is 2A. Melissa frowned, her tone curt. "First class isn't for standby passengers or free upgrades. These seats are reserved for paying customers." Startled by the assumption, Caleb responded, "I do have a ticket," pulling it from his pocket. But Melissa didn't bother to glance at it. "You'll need to move to the back," she snapped. "I can't have people sitting where they don't belong." Nearby, passengers noticed and exchanged confused looks, but no one intervened. Embarrassed, Caleb's cheeks flushed. "I really do have a ticket," he said again, quieter now. Melissa sighed, impatient. "Either move, or I'll have you taken off this plane." Tears stung Caleb's eyes, but he stood tall. "Fine," he whispered, gathering his bag and walking down the aisle. He stood by the exit, unsure, as Melissa called the gate agent. "Remove this child," she ordered. The gate agent frowned. "He's a ticketed passenger." Melissa waved her off, dismissing her. Caleb quietly stepped into the terminal, trying to keep his tears in check as other passengers whispered. Just then, Emily Harris, the terminal manager, spotted him. Emily, a compassionate professional who had worked closely with Jonathan Turner, recognized Caleb instantly. "Caleb, why are you out here?" she asked gently. Haltingly, Caleb explained what had happened. "She didn't even look at my ticket." "She just assumed." Emily's face hardened. "Stay here," she said firmly, pulling out her phone. In moments, she was on the line with Jonathan. "Your son was just kicked off one of your flights," she told him. "Yes, kicked off. He's standing here in tears because your employee assumed he didn't belong in first class." Jonathan's voice was sharp. "I'm on my way." "Don't let that plane leave." 11 minutes later, Jonathan strode into the terminal. His tailored suit and commanding presence turned heads. Spotting Caleb, he knelt down and embraced him. "You okay, son?" Caleb nodded, though his eyes were red. "I didn't do anything wrong, Dad." "I know," Jonathan reassured, standing. He turned to Emily. "Let's fix this." Together, they returned to the gate where Melissa was speaking with the captain. Jonathan boarded the plane with Caleb at his side. Passengers murmured as they recognized the CEO. Jonathan's expression was cold as he approached Melissa. "Are you the flight attendant who removed my son?" Melissa faltered. I didn't realize he was your son." "That shouldn't matter," Jonathan said firmly. "You didn't check his ticket. You humiliated a child in front of everyone because of an assumption. Do you treat every passenger this way, or only those who don't look like they belong here?" Melissa's composure cracked. "I thought he was sneaking in." "You thought wrong," Jonathan cut her off. He turned to the captain. "This plane isn't leaving until this is dealt with." Facing the passengers, Jonathan raised his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for the disruption, but this is a matter of principle. No one, especially a child, should be treated as though they don't belong based only on how they look. My son had every right to be here. This behavior is not what Airline stands for, and it will not be tolerated." Applause filled the cabin as passengers nodded in agreement. Jonathan turned back to Melissa. You're relieved of duty for this flight. HR will be in touch regarding your employment. Pale and shaken, Melissa gathered her things and left in silence. Caleb returned to seat 2A, this time with his father beside him. Passengers smiled and offered encouraging words. You okay now? Jonathan asked. Yeah, Caleb said softly. Thanks for coming, Dad. Always, Jonathan replied, ruffling his son's hair. Weeks later, Jonathan ordered an internal investigation into the airline's training. Melissa's dismissal was made official, and mandatory training on customer service and racial bias rolled out company-wide. Months after the incident, Caleb sat in his father's office, flipping through designs for a new initiative, one aimed at making luxury air travel more accessible to underserved communities. Dad, Caleb said, I want to help with this. I want to make sure no one else ever feels like they don't belong. Jonathan smiled proudly. You've already started doing that, son. Let's keep building it together. Looking out the window at a jet soaring across the sky, Caleb felt a renewed sense of purpose. What began as a humiliating experience had become a powerful lesson for him, his father, and the entire airline. Have you ever seen or experienced unfair treatment like Caleb did? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience and justice.